3 years. 3 years she had loved a monster who claimed her but never said the words. 3 years of silence so loud it shattered her soul. And now, standing in the crowded airport terminal with freedom just 20 steps away, Vivienne made a choice that would either save her or destroy them both. She never expected him to find her. She never expected what happened next would break the internet, break the vampire world, and break her heart in ways that would take eternity to heal. The passport trembled in her fingers as Gate 47 announced final boarding to New York. Freedom was 20 steps away. 3 years of silent suffering, 3 years of loving a monster who collected her like a jewel but never once said the words she needed to hear. She never expected him to find her. She never expected the most feared vampire king in history to fall to his knees before hundreds of humans, his ancient voice breaking like shattered glass, and destroy everything she believed about monsters, power, and the terrifying truth about love. The clock struck 3 in the morning when Vivienne finally allowed herself to breathe. She stood in the center of her chambers, surrounded by wealth that would make queens weep with envy. Crystal chandeliers cast dancing light across hand-painted ceilings. Silk curtains worth more than her childhood home framed windows overlooking gardens that stretched into forever. A vanity overflowing with diamonds, rubies, and emeralds sat untouched in the corner. None of it was hers. None of it had ever been hers. She folded a simple cotton dress into her suitcase, her fingers trembling with each movement. No jewelry. No designer gowns. Nothing that belonged to him. "You are doing the right thing," she whispered to her reflection. The woman staring back looked hollow. Dark circles under her eyes. Cheekbones sharper than they used to be. 3 years of luxury had starved her in ways food could never fix. She remembered the day he claimed her. Not with violence, but with a single look across a crowded ballroom. Dominic Valderon. The Vampire King. A creature whose name was spoken in terrified whispers across 7 continents. He had watched her that night like she was the only heartbeat in a room full of hundreds. "You belong with me now," he had said, and somehow those words had sounded like a promise instead of a prison sentence. But promises rot when they are never fed. He never said he loved her. In 3 years, through every gift, every protection, every enemy he destroyed on her behalf, those 3 words never crossed his lips. She was his possession. His beautiful human artifact. Kept and protected, but never truly wanted. Another tear escaped down her cheek. She zipped the suitcase and moved toward the balcony. The guards changed shifts 12 minutes ago. The next patrol would pass in 28 minutes. She had memorized their patterns for 6 months, waiting for this moment. "Forgive me," she breathed into the cold night air, though she did not know who she was asking. Perhaps him. Perhaps herself. She climbed down the ancient stones, her human fingers aching against the cold, and disappeared into the darkness. 40 miles away, in the obsidian council chamber beneath the mountain, Dominic Valderon reminded 12 ancient vampires why the world feared his name. He stood at the head of a table carved from a single black diamond, his presence filling the room like smoke filling lungs. His dark suit was immaculate. His posture was relaxed. His smile was the most dangerous thing in the room. "Gentlemen," he said, his voice smooth as aged whiskey and twice as intoxicating, "I believe there has been a misunderstanding." Lord Harwick, a vampire of 600 years, cleared his throat nervously. "Your Majesty, the Northern Covens demand independence. They claim your rule has become..." "Become what?" Dominic tilted his head, the gesture almost playful. "Please. Finish your sentence. I am genuinely fascinated." Harwick swallowed. "Tyrannical." The room fell silent enough to hear dust settling on stone. Dominic laughed. The sound echoed off the chamber walls, rich and warm and utterly terrifying. "Tyrannical," he repeated, savoring the word. He began to walk slowly around the table, his footsteps deliberate. You see, Lord Harwick, the problem with that accusation is that it assumes I care what the Northern Covens think. He paused behind Harwick's chair, placing one hand on the ancient vampire's shoulder. Do you know what I did to the last council that questioned my authority? It was, 300 years ago. Perhaps 4. Time blurs when you have so much of it. He leaned down, his lips near Harwick's ear. I removed their tongues first. Then their hands. Then I sealed them in silver coffins and dropped them into the Mariana Trench. Harwick stopped breathing, though vampires did not need to breathe. Dominic straightened, adjusting his cufflinks casually. They are still down there, by the way. Conscious. Starving. Screaming into the darkness where no one can hear them. He smiled at the table. I visit them on holidays. Brings me tremendous joy. The council members sat frozen in terror. Now, Dominic continued, returning to his seat with the grace of a predator who knew he had no equal. Does anyone else wish to discuss my ruling style? I have time. Eternity, actually. No one spoke. Wonderful. Meeting adjourned. But as the council members fled, Dominic remained seated. His smile faded. Something cold twisted in his chest, a sensation he had not felt in centuries. He turned toward the eastern window, toward the castle on the distant hill where Vivienne slept. Except she was not sleeping. He could feel it in his ancient bones. Something was wrong. Something was missing. Caspian, he called. His younger brother appeared in the doorway within seconds. Brother? Check on Vivienne. Now. Caspian frowned. It is the middle of the night. She will be. Now. The command left no room for argument. As Caspian vanished, Dominic pressed his hand against his chest, directly over the place where his dead heart used to beat. For 800 years, nothing had touched him. Not grief. Not fear. Not longing. But the thought of that woman, that fragile, stubborn, breathtaking human woman. She had ruined him. And he had never told her. If you are still here, if this story already has your heart racing, then you are exactly where you belong. Hit that subscribe button right now. I am not asking for much. Just one click to join the fastest growing vampire romance family on this entire platform. We are building something special here, and I want you to be part of it. Drop a comment and tell me where you are watching from tonight. I want to know which corner of the world is falling in love with this story alongside me. And tell me honestly, do you think Dominic truly loves Vivienne, or is she right to believe she is just another possession to him? What do you see in him that maybe she cannot? Let me know your thoughts. Caspian's voice crackled through the phone like broken glass. Brother, she is gone. 3 words. 3 small words that shattered 800 years of carefully constructed armor. Dominic did not respond. He could not. His throat had turned to stone, his ancient lungs forgetting how to function even though they had not truly worked in centuries. Dominic, did you hear me? Vivienne is gone. The balcony window was left open. Some of her clothes are missing. There is a note on the pillow, it says. Read it. Brother. Read it to me, Caspian. Now. His younger brother's voice softened with something close to pity. Dominic hated that sound. I cannot be your beautiful prisoner anymore. Please do not follow me. Let me go, Dominic. Let me be free. The phone crumbled in Dominic's grip, the metal and glass compressing into a useless ball that clattered to the marble floor. Around him, the council chamber seemed to shrink, the walls pressing inward, the air thickening until even the candles flickered with his rising fury. But it was not fury. It was fear. For the first time in 8 centuries, the Vampire King was afraid. He moved before conscious thought could catch up. The chamber doors exploded from their hinges as he passed, ancient wood splintering into 1,000 pieces that rained down on the empty corridor. Guards scattered. Servants pressed themselves against walls, their eyes wide with terror they had never seen before. Because they had never seen their king like this. Unhinged. Desperate. Breaking. Dominic reached her chambers in seconds that felt like lifetimes. He stood in the doorway, his massive frame filling the space, his dark eyes scanning every corner of the room as if she might be hiding. As if this might be a game. As if he might turn and find her laughing at him, teasing him the way she sometimes did when she thought he was being too serious. But the room was empty. Her warmth was gone. Her scent lingered in the air like perfume on a ghost, fading with every passing second. The bed was made with military precision, not a single wrinkle in the silk sheets. The vanity sat untouched, every jewel exactly where he had placed them, arranged in patterns he had chosen because he thought they matched her eyes. She had taken none of it. Not the diamonds he had won in wars fought before her great-grandmother was born. Not the ruby necklace he had commissioned from a dying artist in Venice, paying the man enough to save his entire family in exchange for one perfect piece. Not the emerald earrings he had found in a sunken ship, diving into black waters himself because he had seen how her eyes lit up when she read about lost treasures. None of it. She had taken only herself, and somehow that was the cruelest rejection of all. His fingers found the note on her pillow. The paper was soft, expensive, torn from the journal he had given her last winter. Her handwriting was careful, each letter formed with the precision of someone who had rewritten these words 100 times before finding the courage to leave them. I cannot be your beautiful prisoner anymore. Prisoner. The word burned through his chest like silver through vampire flesh. Please do not follow me. His jaw clenched so hard that his ancient bones creaked. Let me go, Dominic. No. Let me be free. The paper crumbled in his fist, the words disappearing into a crushed ball that he hurled across the room with enough force to crack the stone wall. Free. She wanted to be free. From him. From everything he had built for her, around her, because of her. Did she not understand? Did she not see? He had given her a kingdom. He had given her protection that emperors could not buy and warlords could not conquer. He had destroyed covens, slaughtered enemies, reshaped the entire vampire political landscape just to ensure that no creature on this earth would ever dare to harm a single hair on her precious human head. And she called herself a prisoner. Dominic moved to the balcony, his hands gripping the stone railing hard enough to leave fingerprints in the ancient rock. The night stretched before him, vast and indifferent. Somewhere out there, she was running. His Vivienne. His stubborn, beautiful, infuriating Vivienne. Running from him. Your Majesty. A servant appeared in the doorway, trembling visibly. The guards have traced her path. She hired a car from the village. Our sources indicate she is heading toward the international airport. There is a flight to New York departing in 4 hours. New York. America. An ocean away from him. A world away from everything they had built together. Something wet traced down Dominic's cheek. He touched his face in confusion, staring at his fingers. A tear. His first tear in 800 years. Your Majesty, what are your orders? Should we intercept her? The guards can. No. The servant blinked. No. Dominic turned, and in that moment, he was not the vampire king. He was not the monster that made ancient creatures weep with terror. He was simply a man who had just realized he was about to lose the only thing that had ever made eternity feel bearable. "I will go myself. But your majesty, the council, the northern covens, let them come." Dominic's voice dropped to something cold and broken all at once. "Let them all come. Let them burn this kingdom to the ground while I am gone. Let them take every throne, every territory, every drop of power I have accumulated over 8 centuries." He paused at the doorway, his broad shoulders filling the frame. "Without her, none of it matters. Without her, I am already dead." And then he was gone, moving through the night with the speed of a creature who had nothing left to lose. Vivienne sat in the hard plastic chair of Gate 47, her boarding pass clutched so tightly that the paper was beginning to tear at the edges. Around her, humans moved in predictable patterns. Businessmen checking phones. Families corralling children. Couples holding hands as they waited for flights that would carry them to honeymoons and holidays and happy endings. She did not fit here. She had not fit anywhere for 3 years. The announcement board flickered. Flight 847 to New York. Now boarding. This was it. Her escape. Her freedom. So why did her chest feel like it was caving in? She closed her eyes, and immediately his face appeared behind her lids. Dominic. Those dark eyes that had seen centuries of bloodshed yet somehow softened when they looked at her. Those lips that could command armies with a whisper but curved into secret smiles when she said something that amused him. Those hands that had killed thousands but touched her like she was made of something precious and irreplaceable. "Stop it," she whispered to herself. "He never loved you." He never said the words. But a small voice in the back of her mind, a voice she had been trying to silence for months, whispered back. "He showed you. Every day. In 1,000 ways you refused to see." She shook her head, forcing herself to stand. Gate 47 was beginning to board. First-class passengers first. She had spent most of her savings on this ticket, money she had secretly accumulated over 3 years, tucking away small amounts that she hoped he would not notice. He probably had noticed. He noticed everything. But he had let her keep her secrets, her small rebellions, her illusion of independence. Because he trusted her. And she was betraying that trust right now. Final boarding call for Flight 847 to New York. All remaining passengers please proceed to Gate 47 immediately. Vivienne gripped her suitcase handle and began walking toward the gate. 20 steps. 19. 18. Behind her, the airport lights flickered. 15 steps. 14. A strange hush fell over the terminal, conversations dying mid-sentence, footsteps slowing to uncertain shuffles. 10 steps. 9. The temperature dropped. Vivienne could see her breath suddenly, small clouds of white in air that had been warm moments before. 5 steps. And then she heard it. His voice. "Running from me, little love?" Vivienne froze. Every muscle in her body locked. Every breath caught in her throat. The boarding pass slipped from her fingers and floated to the ground like a broken promise. She did not turn around. She could not. Because if she turned around, if she saw him, she would crumble. And she had worked too hard, sacrificed too much, to crumble now. "Keep walking," she whispered to herself. "Do not look back. Do not. I can hear your heartbeat, darling. I can hear it trying to escape your chest the same way you are trying to escape me." His voice was closer now. Directly behind her. Close enough that she could feel the unnatural cold that always surrounded him, the chill of death wrapped in the illusion of life. She forced herself to take another step toward the gate. "Vivienne." Her name on his lips was a command and a plea all at once. Stop running from me. No. Her voice came out broken. I cannot do this anymore, Dominic. I cannot. Turn around. No. Look at me, Vivienne. I said no. Behind her, she heard something that made her blood run cold. Gasps. Dozens of them. The shuffle of feet stepping backward. The clatter of someone dropping their coffee cup. A child beginning to cry. And then a woman's terrified whisper. Oh my God, is he floating? Against every instinct screaming at her to run, Vivienne turned around. What she saw stole the air from her lungs. Dominic Valderon stood in the center of the airport terminal, 20 feet from the ground, suspended in empty air like gravity had simply forgotten he existed. His dark suit was immaculate as always, not a single thread out of place. His hands were clasped casually behind his back, his posture relaxed despite the impossibility of his position. But it was his eyes that destroyed her. They were not angry. They were not cold. They were devastated. Around him, the air rippled with visible power. The lights flickered and dimmed. Electronics throughout the terminal sparked and died. Phone screens went black. The departure board shorted out in cascades of sparks. Every window in the terminal cracked simultaneously, spiderweb patterns spreading across glass like ice on a winter lake. Humans screamed and scattered in every direction, but none of them could leave. The exits had sealed themselves. Doors that should have opened remained locked. Emergency systems failed before they could activate. In 3 seconds, the Vampire King had turned an international airport into his personal throne room. And he had done it all without moving a single muscle. Slowly, deliberately, Dominic descended. His feet touched the ground with the gentleness of snow falling, but the marble floor cracked beneath his shoes, fissures spreading outward in perfect circles. He stood there, surrounded by chaos he had created with a thought, and looked at her with eyes that held 800 years of loneliness. You asked me not to follow you, he said softly. That was very optimistic. Security guards rushed toward them, shouting commands, reaching for weapons they would never be fast enough to use. Dominic did not even glance their way. He raised one hand, made a gentle gesture like brushing away smoke, and every guard in the terminal collapsed to the ground, unconscious before they hit the floor. Not dead. He would never kill in front of her. But removed. Obstacles eliminated without effort. Dominic, please. Vivienne's voice trembled. You are terrifying these people. I am terrifying you, he corrected, and there was such pain in his voice that it cut through her anger like a blade through paper. That is the part that is killing me right now, little love. The fact that you look at me and see something to run from. I am not running from you. I am running from the cage. His jaw clenched. I never caged you. You claimed me like property. I protected you like treasure. You never asked what I wanted. You never told me you were unhappy. Because you never asked, Dominic. The words exploded from her chest, 3 years of silence shattering all at once. In 3 years, you never once asked me if I was happy. If I was content. If I wanted this life you built around me without my permission. Around them, the humans who had not fled were pressed against walls, holding their phones up, recording everything. This would be all over the internet within minutes. Videos of a man floating in midair. A man who shut down an entire airport with a gesture. Dominic's reputation, the carefully maintained secret of vampire existence, was unraveling in real time. And he did not care. You want to know what you are to me? His voice dropped to something dangerous and broken. You are the reason I stopped counting years. You are the first thing I think about when I wake and the last thing I see before I close my eyes. You are the only softness in 8 centuries of blood and brutality. He took a step toward her. I have conquered kingdoms for less than you. I have burned countries for smaller offenses than your unhappiness. Another step. I am 800 years old, Vivienne. I have forgotten more history than humans have recorded. I have killed thousands. I have destroyed bloodlines and erased entire vampire covens from existence. Another step, and now he was close enough that she could see the wetness in his eyes. But I have never begged. Not once. Not ever. He stopped directly in front of her, close enough to touch but not touching. Never taking what was not freely given. Until now. And then, before hundreds of watching humans, before security cameras that were recording everything, before a world that would never forget this moment, Dominic Valderon, the vampire king, the creature that made ancient monsters weep with terror, dropped to his knees. The marble shattered beneath him. Cracks spread across the entire terminal floor like earthquake fault lines. He looked up at her, and when he spoke, his voice carried to every corner of the space, amplified by power he could not contain. Please do not leave me. Vivienne felt her heart break and mend and break again. Dominic, get up. People are watching. Let them watch. Let the whole world watch. Let them see what you have done to me. You are making a scene. A broken laugh escaped his throat. I am making a scene? Darling, I just shut down an international airport and revealed the existence of vampires to several hundred humans with cameras. I am well past making a scene. This is a complete meltdown, and I am embracing it fully. Despite everything, despite her tears and her fear and her anger, Vivienne felt a laugh bubble up in her chest. This is not funny. It is a little funny, Dominic countered, and there was that hint of dark humor, that flash of the personality she had fallen in love with. I can already hear my brother Caspian screaming about damage control. He is going to make me attend so many council meetings after this. Absolute nightmare. Dominic. I love you. The terminal fell silent. 3 words. 3 small words she had waited 3 years to hear. I love you, Vivienne. I have loved you since the moment I saw you. I have loved you through every sunrise I could not see and every night that felt less empty because you were in it. I love you so completely that this kingdom, this power, this immortality, all of it is worthless without you. Tears streamed down her face. Then why did you never say it? Why did you wait until I was leaving? His expression crumbled. Because I am 800 years old, and I am still a coward. Because I thought if I said the words out loud, if I gave you that power over me, you would use it to destroy me. And I was right. Because here I am. Destroyed. Shattered. Begging in an airport like a mortal fool. He reached up slowly, telegraphing his movement, giving her every chance to pull away. His fingers brushed her cheek, catching her tears. But I would rather be destroyed by loving you than survive without you. So please, little love. Please do not get on that plane. Vivienne's mind was screaming at her. 3 years of feeling invisible. 3 years of silence. 3 years of wondering if she was just a possession. But her heart remembered other things. The way he always made sure her coffee was exactly the right temperature every morning. The way he rearranged his entire schedule around her needs without ever mentioning it. The way he sat with her in silence when she was sad, never demanding explanations, just being present. The way he had learned to be gentle despite 8 centuries of violence, reshaping himself around her fragile humanity. The way he looked at her when he thought she was not paying attention, like she was the miracle and he was the one who could not believe his fortune. I needed to hear the words, she whispered. I know. I am sorry. I am so sorry, Vivienne. I needed to know I was more than a possession. You are everything. You are the whole world. Without you, my kingdom is worthless. She closed her eyes, and more tears fell. Behind them, someone in the crowd whispered, "Is anyone else rooting for the scary floating vampire?" "Because I am completely rooting for him." Another voice responded, "If my man does not shut down an airport for me, I do not want him." Despite everything, Vivienne laughed through her tears. Dominic smiled, that rare genuine smile that transformed his entire face. "I am growing on them," he said. "In 5 minutes, I will be a viral sensation. By tomorrow, there will be merchandise. You are ridiculous. I am in love." Apparently, it has the same effect. Vivienne looked down at him, this ancient powerful creature kneeling before her in shattered marble, and felt something shift in her chest. But the hurt was still there. 3 years of hurt did not vanish with one declaration, no matter how dramatic. "I cannot just forget, Dominic. I cannot just pretend the last 3 years did not happen." His face fell, hope dimming in his ancient eyes. "I understand. I felt invisible. I felt like a beautiful doll you kept on a shelf. I know. And I will spend eternity making up for that if you give me the chance." She took a shaky breath. "I need time. I need space to think." Something died in his expression, but he nodded slowly. "How much time?" "I do not know. Days? Weeks? Centuries?" He tried to smile, but it came out broken. "I should warn you, I am very impatient. It is one of my many flaws." "Dominic, where will you go?" She had not expected the question. I do not know." "New York? You had a ticket to New York." She nodded slowly. He rose to his feet in one fluid movement, and suddenly he was composed again. The Vampire King returning. The powerful creature who controlled himself absolutely, except for the wetness still shining in his eyes. "Then you should go." "What?" "You want space. You want time. I am the opposite of space, Vivienne. I am suffocating obsession wrapped in expensive suits." He stepped back from her, and the distance between them felt like miles. "So go. Take your time. Figure out what you want. You are letting me leave?" His laugh was bitter. "Letting you? Darling, I cannot stop you. I mean, physically I absolutely can. I could carry you back to the castle right now and no force on earth could prevent me. But that would make me exactly what you accused me of being. A captor. A jailer." He gestured toward the gate. "So go. The plane is waiting. I will even fix the damage I caused so you can board safely." Vivienne stared at him, confused and hurt and relieved all at once. "Just like that? Just like that? I do not understand." Dominic reached out and cupped her face with both hands, his touch achingly gentle. "I love you enough to let you choose, Vivienne. Even if you choose to leave. Even if it kills me, which it will, metaphorically speaking. I am already dead, so the technicalities are complicated." There was that humor again, dark and self-deprecating, trying to make light of his own devastation. He leaned forward and pressed his lips to her forehead, a kiss so tender it made her chest ache. "But know this," he whispered against her skin. "If you decide you want me, if you decide this is worth fighting for, I will be waiting. I will wait decades. Centuries. Until your human life ends and beyond. I will wait." He pulled back, and she saw the truth in his eyes. Because you were worth waiting for. Then he turned and began walking toward the exit. The doors unlocked at his approach. The lights flickered back to life. Electronics hummed as they rebooted. The terminal returned to normal, the only evidence of his power the cracked marble floor and hundreds of shocked witnesses. At the doorway, he paused and looked back. Oh, and Vivienne? When you are in New York, stay away from the Lower East Side. There's a rogue coven there that owes me a blood debt, and they would love to get their hands on you just to hurt me. Also, avoid the subway after midnight. The rats are unusually large and some of them are not actually rats. Even now, even in his heartbreak, he was protecting her. Dominic. I will have Caspian send you a list. A comprehensive guide to staying alive in New York as the former beloved of the Vampire King. It will be very thorough. He excels at thorough. Dominic, wait. But he was already gone, vanished into the night, leaving nothing behind but the scent of him and the echo of 3 words she had waited 3 years to hear. I love you. The gate agent's voice crackled over the intercom. Final boarding call for Flight 847 to New York. Final call. Vivienne stood in the center of the terminal, her suitcase at her feet, her boarding pass on the ground, and her heart in pieces. What have I done? What would you do right now if you were Vivienne? Would you get on that plane, or would you run after him? Drop your answer in the comments because I need to know if you think she is making the right choice. Vivienne boarded the plane. She told herself it was the right decision with every step down the jetway. With every breath that caught in her throat. With every instinct screaming at her to turn around. The flight attendant smiled at her, that practiced professional smile that meant nothing. Welcome aboard. Seat 3A, first class. Lucky you. Lucky. Right. Vivienne found her seat by the window and pressed her forehead against the cold glass. Outside, the tarmac stretched into darkness. Somewhere out there, he was gone. Dominic. The Vampire King. The monster who had just declared his love in front of hundreds of witnesses and then walked away because she asked for space. A flight attendant appeared with champagne. Pre-departure beverage? Vivienne shook her head. Her stomach could not handle anything right now. Around her, other first-class passengers settled in. A businessman already typing on his laptop. A couple holding hands, whispering and laughing. An elderly woman with kind eyes who smiled at Vivienne before opening a book. Normal people. Living normal lives. Flying to New York for normal reasons. None of them had just broken the heart of an 800-year-old vampire. The pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is Captain Morrison. We have been cleared for takeoff. Flight time to New York will be approximately 7 hours and 20 minutes. We will be cruising at an altitude of... Vivienne stopped listening. 7 hours. In 7 hours, she would be in New York. In a city where she knew no one. Where she had no job, no home, no plan beyond escape. What are you doing? The engines roared to life. The plane began to taxi toward the runway. This is what you wanted. Freedom. Independence. A life that is yours. But why did freedom feel like drowning? The plane turned onto the runway. The engines built to a deafening pitch. Vivienne closed her eyes and saw his face. The way he looked kneeling before her. The devastation in his ancient eyes. The tremble in his voice when he said please. I love you, he had said. Without you, my kingdom is worthless. The plane began to accelerate. And then every light in the aircraft went out. The engines died instantly. The plane lurched to a stop so suddenly that passengers were thrown forward against their seatbelts. Oxygen masks dropped from the ceiling. Emergency lights flickered on, bathing everything in eerie red. Screams filled the cabin. The elderly woman beside Vivienne gripped her armrest, her knuckles white. "What is happening?" Vivienne did not answer. Because she knew exactly what was happening. She could feel him. The temperature in the cabin dropped 20 degrees in seconds. Breath became visible. The windows frosted over with ice that spread in patterns too perfect to be natural. And then the pilot's voice returned, but it was not the pilot speaking. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking." Dominic's voice filled every speaker in the aircraft, smooth and dark and laced with barely controlled fury. "We are experiencing a slight delay. Nothing to be concerned about. Just a minor security issue." Vivienne's heart stopped. "Dominic," she whispered. "What are you doing?" The businessman across the aisle was frantically trying his phone. "No signal. There is no signal." "How is there no signal?" The emergency exit door at the front of the plane opened. Not unlocked by human hands. Simply opened. The pressure seal broke with a hiss, and cold night air rushed into the cabin. And Dominic stepped aboard. He looked exactly as he had in the terminal. Immaculate suit. Perfect posture. Completely calm. Except for his eyes, which were blazing with something between rage and terror. He scanned the cabin, found Vivienne in 3 seconds, and the tension in his shoulders eased slightly. "You," the flight attendant stammered, backing away. "You cannot be here. This is a restricted area. I am calling security." Dominic glanced at her, and she stopped speaking. Stopped moving. Stood frozen like a statue, her mouth still open mid-sentence. Every human on the plane froze the same way. The businessman. The couple. The elderly woman. The pilots in the cockpit. All of them locked in place, conscious but unable to move, their eyes wide with terror they could not express. Every human except Vivienne. Dominic let them go. He ignored her, striding down the aisle toward her seat with the focused intensity of a predator who had found his prey. "You are leaving," he said flatly. "Yes. You are actually getting on a plane and flying an ocean away from me. That was the plan, yes. I let you go. I walked away. I gave you the space you demanded." His voice was rising now, centuries of control cracking at the edges. "I was being respectful. Mature. Emotionally available, even. Do you have any idea how difficult that was?" Vivienne stood up to face him, her own anger rising to meet his. "So you stopped a plane? You terrified all these innocent people?" "I did not terrify them. I simply paused them. They are fine." Slightly confused, but fine. He gestured dismissively at the frozen passengers. "And I had a very good reason." "What reason could possibly justify this?" "You are being hunted." The words hit her like ice water. "What?" Dominic's expression shifted from anger to something darker. Fear. Real, genuine fear. The rogue coven I mentioned. The one in New York. They know you left me. They know you are on this flight. There are 3 of them waiting at JFK right now, planning to take you the moment you step off this plane. Vivienne felt her blood run cold. "How do you know?" "Because I know everything that happens in my world, Vivienne. I have spies in every major city. Informants in every coven. And the second you walked away from me, every vampire with a grudge started making plans. He took a step closer, and she could see the strain in his face. Do you understand what you are to them? You are not just Vivienne anymore. You are my weakness. My vulnerability. The human who broke the Vampire King's heart in front of the entire world. There are videos of me on my knees trending on social media right now. Hashtags. Memes. By tomorrow morning, every supernatural creature on this planet will know that you are the way to hurt me. She had not thought of that. Had not considered the consequences beyond her own pain. So you stopped the plane. I stopped the plane, he confirmed. And I am going to walk you off it, take you somewhere safe, and then we are going to have a very long conversation about security protocols. You cannot just kidnap me. I am not kidnapping you. I am protecting you from the vampires who want to kidnap you. Completely different thing. Dominic. They will torture you, Vivienne. Slowly. Creatively. They will send me pieces of you until I give them whatever they want. Territory. Power. My complete and utter destruction. His voice broke. I cannot let that happen. I will not. She wanted to argue. Wanted to rage at him for being controlling, for making decisions for her, for proving every fear she had about being a possession instead of a partner. But the fear in his eyes was real. How long? She asked quietly. How long what? How long until it is safe for me to leave? His jaw clenched. Define safe. Dominic. Weeks. Maybe months. I need to deal with the rogue coven. Send a message strong enough that no other vampire gets similar ideas. Re-establish the fear that kept you safe for 3 years. He ran a hand through his hair, and she realized his hands were shaking. This is my fault. I kept you sheltered. Secret. Protected behind walls and guards. No one knew your face. No one knew your name. You were safe because you were hidden. And then you revealed me to the world. And then I lost my mind in an airport and revealed you to the world, yes. He laughed bitterly. Caspian called me 17 times in the last hour. I have not answered. I assume he's having an aneurysm, which is impressive since vampires cannot have aneurysms. Despite everything, Vivienne felt a small smile tug at her lips. This is not funny. It is a little funny, Dominic countered, echoing his earlier words. I have survived 800 years, countless wars, political upheavals, and the entire Black Plague. But one stubborn human woman brings me to my knees in an airport and destroys centuries of carefully maintained secrecy. The irony is delicious. He sobered, his dark eyes finding hers. But I am not sorry. I am sorry for scaring you. Sorry for making you feel invisible. Sorry for 3 years of failing you in ways I am only now beginning to understand. But I am not sorry for telling you I love you. And I am not sorry for stopping this plane. Vivienne looked around at the frozen passengers, at the impossible situation he had created, at the mess they were both tangled in. What happens now? Now, I take you somewhere safe. Somewhere no one can find you while I clean up this disaster. And then? His expression softened. And then you still get your space. Your time to think. I will not keep you prisoner, Vivienne. But I will keep you alive. Those are non-negotiable. She studied his face, looking for the lie, the manipulation, the control she had convinced herself to find their relationship. But all she saw was exhaustion and fear and love so desperate it was destroying him from the inside out. Where? She asked finally. Relief flooded his features. I have a property in Scotland. Remote. Fortified. beautiful if you like dramatic cliffs and constant rain. You will have space. Privacy. Caspian will stay with you as protection. He is annoying but effective. And you? I will be hunting the vampires who thought threatening you was an acceptable strategy. It will be extremely violent and deeply satisfying. He offered his hand. Will you come with me? Voluntarily? I need to hear you say yes. Vivienne looked at his outstretched hand. 3 years ago, she had taken that hand in a ballroom and it had changed her entire life. Now he was offering it again, asking instead of taking. She thought about New York. About freedom that came with death threats and vampire torture. She thought about the castle. About 3 years of silence and unspoken love. She thought about Scotland. About space to think and time to figure out what she actually wanted. And she thought about him. This impossible, dramatic, ancient creature who had just stopped an airplane because he could not let her fly into danger. This does not mean I forgive you, she said quietly. I know. This does not mean we are okay. I know that too. I am still angry. Still hurt. You have every right to be. She took his hand. Okay. I will come to Scotland. The relief that washed over his face was so intense it almost brought her to her knees. He brought her hand to his lips, pressing a kiss to her knuckles that felt like a prayer. Thank you. He turned toward the cabin, and with a gesture, released the passengers from their frozen state. Immediately, chaos erupted. Screaming. Crying. The flight attendant stumbling backward. The businessman shouting into his phone that now suddenly worked. Dominic ignored all of it, keeping Vivienne's hand in his as he led her toward the exit. At the door, he paused and looked back at the terrified passengers. My apologies for the inconvenience. Please enjoy a complimentary upgrade and a full refund. The airline will contact you with details. Also, you did not see anything unusual. This was a standard mechanical delay. You are welcome. He snapped his fingers, and a strange haze fell over the cabin. Confused expressions replaced terrified ones. Memories rewriting themselves in real time. Then he swept Vivienne into his arms and stepped out into the night. They fell from the plane, dropping toward the tarmac, and Vivienne bit back a scream. But they did not hit the ground. Dominic simply carried her through the air as easily as walking, his supernatural power making physics irrelevant. Show off, she muttered against his chest. She felt him smile. You have not seen anything yet, little love. Wait until I introduce you to actual bat transformation. Caspian looks ridiculous with wings. Despite everything, despite the anger and hurt and confusion, Vivienne laughed. And for the first time in 3 years, wrapped in the arms of a monster who loved her enough to destroy kingdoms, she thought maybe, just maybe, they might figure this out. Honest question, because I genuinely want to know. Do you think Dominic is being protective or controlling right now? Is there a difference? Drop your thoughts in the comments, I am reading every single one. The castle in Scotland was nothing like the palace Vivienne had left behind. Where Dominic's main residence was all marble and crystal and ostentatious wealth, this place was ancient stone and weathered wooden windows that looked out over cliffs where the sea crashed with relentless fury. It was beautiful in a wild, untamed way. It felt like breathing. Caspian met them at the entrance, his expression hovering somewhere between exasperation and amusement. He was younger than Dominic by a few centuries, with lighter hair and eyes that held less darkness but equal intelligence. Brother, he said carefully. I have received 47 phone calls from the council, 16 from various coven leaders demanding your head, and approximately 200 messages from news outlets wanting to interview the mysterious floating man from the airport. Also, you are trending on 4 different social media platforms. Congratulations. Dominic set Vivienne down gently, though his hand remained at the small of her back. Burn it all down. The council, the covens, the platforms. I do not care. You say that now, but tomorrow when you have to rebuild vampire-human relations from scratch, you will care very much. Tomorrow I will have ensured that every vampire who even thinks about touching Vivienne will reconsider. Today, I simply do not have the capacity to care about politics. Caspian's gaze shifted to Vivienne, and his expression softened. It is good to see you safe, Vivienne. I was worried when you left. My brother was insufferable before you arrived. When you disappeared, he became absolutely unhinged. It was terrible for everyone involved. I apologize for the inconvenience, Vivienne said, unsure what else to say. Oh, do not apologize to him, Dominic interjected. He lives for drama. This is the most entertainment he has had in decades. I live for organized, manageable drama. You shutting down an airport and revealing our existence to humans is neither organized nor manageable. It is chaos. Beautiful, terrible chaos that I now have to fix. Despite the words, there was affection in Caspian's voice. These brothers loved each other, that much was clear. I will leave you both to get settled, Caspian continued. Vivienne, your rooms are in the East Wing. Dominic, your presence is required absolutely nowhere near her rooms unless explicitly invited. We discussed boundaries. Dominic's jaw tightened. I am aware. Are you? Because your track record today suggests otherwise. Caspian. I stopped a plane, I know. Very romantic. Also insane. Try words next time. I hear they work wonderfully. With that, Caspian disappeared down a corridor, leaving them alone in the entrance hall. Silence stretched between them, awkward and heavy. He means well, Dominic said finally. He is right though. About boundaries. I know. More silence. Vivienne looked around the castle, at the tapestries on the walls and the weapons mounted above the fireplace and the sheer history soaked into every stone. How old is this place? 1200 years, give or take. It belonged to a Scottish lord who made the unfortunate decision to insult my mother. I killed him and took his castle. Then I felt bad about it, so I funded his children's education and set up a trust for his grandchildren. They still receive payments actually. Descendants 17 generations removed from a man I murdered over a perceived slight. He said it so casually, like confessing to both murder and centuries of guilt-driven restitution was perfectly normal. Your mother, Vivienne repeated. You never talk about your family. About your past. Dominic's expression shuddered immediately. The past is the past. Dominic. You should rest. It has been a long night. Your rooms are prepared. Caspian will show you. Stop. He froze. Vivienne stepped closer, her eyes searching his face. You want me to open up to you. To trust you. To believe that you love me. But you never let me see you. The real you. Not the vampire king. Not the powerful creature who threatens councils and conquers kingdoms. Just Dominic. His hands clenched at his sides. You do not want to see that man, Vivienne. Yes, I do. No. His voice turned sharp. You really do not. That man is broken. That man has done things that would make you run screaming. That man is the one I fell in love with, she interrupted. Not your power. Not your kingdom. You. The person who sits with me in silence when I am sad. Who remembers how I take my coffee. Who learns to be gentle even though gentleness was beaten out of him centuries ago. Dominic flinched at the last part. How did you? I notice things too, Dominic. I see how you hesitate before touching anyone. How you calculate every gesture like you are afraid your hands will forget they are capable of something other than violence. I see you. His facade cracked. My father, he said quietly, the words dragged from somewhere deep and painful, believed that emotion was weakness. That softness would get us killed. We were minor nobility in a time when power was everything and compassion was a death sentence. He moved to the window, staring out at the violent sea. He trained us. Brutally. My brothers and I, Caspian was the youngest. He tried to be gentle once, showed mercy to an enemy in training. Our father broke 3 of his ribs and locked him in the dungeon for a week. Vivienne felt her chest tighten. I learned quickly. Became exactly what he wanted. Cold. Efficient. Ruthless. By the time I was 20, I could kill without hesitation. By 25, I could do it without feeling. Dominic. And then I became a vampire, and suddenly I had eternity to perfect those skills. 800 years of being exactly what my father made me. A weapon. A king. A creature that other creatures fear. He turned to look at her, and his eyes were devastated. So when you walked into my life, when you looked at me with kindness instead of terror, when you smiled at me like I was worth something other than fear, I did not know what to do with it. You could have told me. How? How do I tell you that I spent 3 years terrified that if I said I love you, if I gave you that power over me, you would see what I really am and leave? That every morning I woke up certain that this would be the day you realized you were living with a monster? His voice broke. I kept you close because I was afraid. I gave you everything except the words because words make things real, and real things can be destroyed. I know. I have destroyed enough of them. Vivienne crossed the space between them, her anger melting in the face of his pain. I am not going to destroy you. You already did. In that airport. You shattered me, Vivienne. Completely. And yet you let me go. Because I love you more than I fear being broken. She reached up and cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. I need you to understand something. I did not leave because I stopped loving you. I left because I thought you never started. Confusion flickered across his features. How could you think that? Because you never said it. Because you treated me like something precious but never told me why. Because I felt like a treasure you were guarding but not a person you were choosing. I chose you every single day. But you never told me that. The truth settled between them, heavy and painful. We are both idiots, Dominic said finally. Despite everything, Vivienne laughed. Completely. I was afraid to speak, and you were afraid I did not care. We wasted 3 years. I wasted 3 years, he corrected. You tried. You reached out in 100 small ways, and I was too much of a coward to respond properly. He covered her hands with his, pressing them more firmly against his face like he was afraid she would pull away. My father died hating me. Did I ever tell you that? I mercy killed him after he was turned into a vampire against his will. He begged me to do it, and even then, even as I granted his final wish, he looked at me with disgust. Dominic. He said I was his greatest disappointment. That I had become exactly what he trained me to be, and it horrified him. The irony still haunts me. Vivienne felt tears prick her eyes. You are not your father's creation. You are more than what he made you. Am I? I stopped a plane tonight, Vivienne. I terrified hundreds of people. I broke at least 17 international laws and revealed vampire existence to the human world. All because I could not stand the thought of you being in danger. That was not your father speaking. That was love. Love that manifests as control. As possession. As exactly what you accused me of being. She shook her head. No. It was messy and dramatic and completely over the top, yes. But it was not possession. You gave me a choice at the end. You asked me to come with you voluntarily. You needed to hear me say yes. After I stopped the plane. After I removed the option of flying to New York safely. Because there were vampires waiting to torture me. You were not controlling me, Dominic. You were protecting me from a real threat. And if there had been no threat, if I had simply stopped the plane because I could not let you go? She was quiet for a moment, considering. Then we would have a problem. But that is not what happened. He pulled her hands from his face and brought them to his lips, kissing her knuckles gently. I do not know how to do this, Vivienne. I have 800 years of being alone. 800 years of keeping everyone at a distance. I do not know how to let someone in without destroying them or myself in the process. So we learn. Together. What if I fail? What if I hurt you again? Then we deal with it. With words this time. With honesty instead of silence. He studied her face, searching for something. You are extraordinary. You know that? You are standing here, after everything I put you through, offering me another chance. Most people would have run screaming by now. Most people did not spend 3 years falling in love with a dramatic vampire king who stops airplanes and trends on social media. That pulled a real smile from him. The memes are actually quite funny. Caspian showed me one that said if your man does not shut down an airport for you, throw him away. I am apparently relationship goals. You are ridiculous. I am in love. It has adverse effects on my judgment. Vivienne felt herself softening further, the walls she had built beginning to crumble. But she needed more. Needed all of him. Tell me about her. Dominic froze. Who? The woman who hurt you before me. The one who taught you that saying I love you gives people power to destroy you. His entire body went rigid. Vivienne. You are not the only one who notices things, Dominic. You flinch every time you get close to saying those words. Someone taught you that. Someone made you afraid. For a long moment, she thought he would not answer. Would retreat back behind his walls and shut her out. But then he spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. Her name was Isadora. It was 1673. I was young for a vampire, barely 200 years old. Still learning what immortality meant. He moved back to the window, unable to look at Vivienne while he spoke. She was human. Beautiful. Clever. She saw past the monster to the man, or so I thought. I loved her desperately. Completely. I told her everything. Showed her everything. Made myself vulnerable in ways I had never dared. Vivienne's heart sank, knowing where this was going. And then one night, she led me into a trap. Her father was a vampire hunter. She had been using me the entire time, gathering information, learning our weaknesses. They nearly killed me. Would have, if Caspian had not arrived in time. Oh, Dominic. As I was bleeding out on the floor, silver burning through my chest, she looked at me and smiled. She said love was the easiest weapon to use because fools always fell for it. He turned back to face her, and his eyes were ancient and wounded. I swore I would never give anyone that power again. Never speak those words. Never make myself that vulnerable. For 4 centuries, I kept that promise. Until me. Until you. Vivienne crossed to him, wrapping her arms around him from behind, her cheek pressed against his back. I am not her. I know. I would never use you like that. I know that too. Logically. But fear is not logical, Vivienne. It lives in the spaces where reason cannot reach. She held him tighter. Then we will fight it together. Every day. Until the fear gets smaller and the love gets louder. She felt him shudder, centuries of control finally breaking. I do not deserve you. Probably not. But you are stuck with me anyway. He turned in her arms, gathering her close, burying his face in her hair. I am so sorry. For all of it. For making you feel invisible. For letting my fear control me. For wasting 3 years we could have spent actually being happy instead of dancing around the truth. I am sorry too. For running instead of talking. For assuming the worst instead of asking questions. They stood there, wrapped around each other, 2 broken people trying to figure out how to be whole together. This is going to be hard, Vivienne whispered. We are both damaged. Both carrying wounds. I know. We are going to mess up. Hurt each other. Fail. Probably repeatedly. But we are going to try anyway? Dominic pulled back just enough to look at her, and for the first time since she had known him, she saw hope in his ancient eyes. We are going to try anyway. He leaned down and kissed her. Not with the desperate passion of earlier, but with something softer. A promise. A beginning. When they broke apart, Vivienne rested her forehead against his. I still need time, she said quietly. Space to process. To figure out who I am outside of being your treasure. Pain flickered across his face, but he nodded. I understand. But I am not leaving. I am staying here, in Scotland, while we both figure this out. Relief replaced the pain. I can work with that. And you need to go deal with the vampires who threaten me. With extreme prejudice and creative violence, yes. How long will you be gone? His smile turned dark. 3 days. 4 at most. I am going to send a message that will echo through vampire circles for the next century. No one threatens what is mine and lives to speak of it. Dominic. They were going to torture you, Vivienne. Cut you into pieces and send them to me. There is no universe in which that does not end with their complete annihilation. She should have been horrified. Should have been disgusted by the casual way he discussed murder. But instead, she felt protected. Cherished. Chosen. Maybe that made her broken too. Be safe, she said instead. He laughed. Little love, I am 800 years old and the most feared vampire in existence. Safe is relative. Dominic. I will be careful. For you. He kissed her again, deeper this time, pouring 4 centuries of fear and 3 years of unspoken love and 800 years of loneliness into the connection. When he finally pulled away, they were both breathless. I will return in 3 days. Caspian will stay with you. He is annoying, but he will die before he lets anything hurt you. I know. And Vivienne? Yes. His dark eyes held hers, intense and vulnerable and completely open for the first time. I love you. I am going to keep saying it until you believe it. Until the words stop sounding foreign. Until you understand that you are not my possession or my treasure or my beautiful prisoner. You are my choice. Every single day. For as long as you will have me. Tears spilled down her cheeks. I love you too. I never stopped. Even when I was running. I know. I could see it in your eyes at the airport. It was the only thing that kept me from completely losing myself. He stepped back, putting distance between them with visible effort. 3 days. Then we start figuring this out. Together. Together, she agreed. And then he was gone, vanishing into the night to do terrible things to terrible people, leaving her in a castle in Scotland with his brother and 3 days to decide what she really wanted. For the first time in 3 years, Vivienne felt like she could breathe. And for the first time in 4 centuries, Dominic felt like he could hope. The first day without Dominic was strange. Vivienne woke in a massive bed in a room that smelled like sea air and old books. Sunlight streamed through windows that faced the cliffs, and for a moment, she forgot where she was. Then memory returned. The airport. The plane. Dominic on his knees. Scotland. She rose and found clothes laid out for her. Simple, comfortable, nothing like the designer gowns that had filled her wardrobe at the palace. Jeans. A soft sweater. Boots made for walking on rough terrain. Caspian was waiting in the dining room with coffee and fresh pastries. "Good morning," he said cheerfully. "I hope you slept well. The beds here are from the 17th century, but I had the mattress updated because sleeping on historically accurate straw is romantic in theory but terrible in practice." Vivienne accepted the coffee gratefully. "Where is Dominic?" "New York. He arrived 2 hours ago. I received a text that said simply found them with 17 knife emojis. I assume that means the rogue coven is having a very bad morning. He is going to kill them. Oh, absolutely. Violently. Probably creatively. My brother has a flair for dramatic revenge." Caspian bit into a croissant. "But they were going to torture you, so honestly, I support it. Family first." There was something refreshing about Caspian's honesty. He did not try to soften what Dominic was. Did not apologize for the violence or pretend it was anything other than what it was. "You are different from him," Vivienne observed. "I am younger. Less traumatized. Marginally more adjusted." He grinned. "I also had a therapist for about 50 years. Victorian era. Wonderful woman. She helped me process my issues with our father before I became a complete disaster like my brother." "Dominic mentioned your father." Caspian's expression darkened. "Our father was a monster who created monsters. Dominic got the worst of it. He was the eldest. The heir. The one who had to be perfect." He set down his coffee. "I watched our father beat the softness out of him year after year. By the time Dominic was 15, he had already killed 3 men in duels. By 20, he was exactly what our father wanted. Cold. Brutal. Efficient. That is heartbreaking." "It is. But you know what is beautiful? You brought some of that softness back. In 3 years, I watched my brother remember how to smile. How to laugh. How to care about something other than power and revenge." He looked at her seriously. "He loves you, Vivienne. More than I have ever seen him love anything. It terrifies him. Makes him stupid and dramatic and completely irrational. But it is real. I know. Do you? Because running away suggests otherwise." The words were gentle but firm. Vivienne set down her cup. I felt invisible. For 3 years, he never said the words. Never told me I mattered. Because he's an idiot, Caspian said bluntly. An 800-year-old idiot with the emotional intelligence of a particularly traumatized rock. But he showed you every day. You just did not see it. Showed me how. Caspian leaned back in his chair. Do you know what my brother was like before you? He spent decades at a time alone. Refused to attend family gatherings. Barely spoke to me or our other brothers. He existed in this constant state of controlled rage, managing his kingdom with an iron fist and trusting absolutely no one. He paused. And then you happened. Suddenly, he was coming to family dinners. Asking my advice on things, which he never does. Smiling at random moments because he was thinking about something you said. He renovated an entire wing of the castle to suit your preferences. Learned to cook human food because you mentioned missing your grandmother's recipes. Spent hours researching human culture so he could understand your references. Vivienne felt her chest tighten. I did not know that. Because he is terrible at communication. But Vivienne, my brother reshaped his entire existence around you. You were not a possession. You were the sun he oriented his world toward. Tears pricked her eyes. He should have told me. Absolutely. He should have used his words like a functional adult. But he was terrified. Isadora broke something in him that never fully healed. He told me about her. Caspian's eyebrows rose. He did? He never talks about Isadora. Not even to me. Last night. He told me everything. Then you mean more to him than you realize. That is not a story he shares lightly. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the weight of unspoken things settling between them. Can I show you something? Caspian asked finally. What? Something my brother would kill me for revealing. But I think you need to see it. Curiosity won over caution. Okay. Caspian led her through the castle, up winding stairs and down corridors lined with tapestries and weapons. Finally, they reached a door at the end of an isolated hallway. This was Dominic's private study. He has not been here in months, but before you left, he spent hours in this room. He opened the door. The room was modest compared to the rest of the castle. A desk. Bookshelves. A fireplace. But what caught Vivienne's attention was the walls. They were covered in sketches. Hundreds of them. All of her. Vivienne sleeping. Vivienne reading. Vivienne laughing at something. Vivienne looking out windows. Vivienne in the garden. Page after page of careful, detailed drawings that captured her in moments she had not known she was being observed. He taught himself to draw, Caspian said quietly. About 2 years ago. Said he wanted to capture how you looked when you smiled because it was his favorite thing in the world. Vivienne moved closer, her fingers trembling as she traced one of the sketches. In it, she was curled up on a sofa, completely absorbed in a book, a small smile playing at her lips. She remembered that day. Remembered that book. Had no idea he had been watching. Had no idea he had cared enough to immortalize the moment. There are journals too, Caspian continued, gesturing to a shelf. Letters he wrote but never sent. Poems, if you can believe it. Terrible poems. My brother has many talents, but poetry is not one of them. He pulled down a leather journal and handed it to her. He will absolutely murder me for this. But you need to understand. Vivienne opened the journal with shaking hands. The first entry was dated 3 years ago. The night they met. I saw her tonight. In the ballroom, surrounded by hundreds of people but somehow alone, she looked at me without fear. I do not understand it. I should terrify her. Instead, she smiled. I cannot stop thinking about that smile. About what it would be like to be worthy of it. She flipped forward. 2 months. She has been here 2 months and I am completely undone. She hummed while arranging flowers today. Such a small thing. Such a human thing. But it was the most beautiful sound I have heard in 800 years. I want to hear it every day for the rest of eternity. How do I tell her that without sounding insane? Further, I almost said it today. I love you. 3 simple words. But they caught in my throat like silver burning flesh. What if she does not feel the same? What if I am just convenient? What if I say the words and she looks at me with pity instead of love? I would rather suffer in silence than see pity in her eyes. And further, she asked me today if I was happy. Such a simple question. I did not know how to answer. I have been alive for 8 centuries and I do not think I understood happiness until her. She is my happiness. My peace. My reason for existing beyond mere survival. And I cannot find the words to tell her. The last entry was dated the night she left. She is gone. I waited too long. Stayed silent too long. Let my fear control me for too long. And now the only thing that made eternity bearable is gone. I deserve this. Deserve the pain. Deserve the emptiness. But I will find her. I will tell her everything I should have said 3 years ago. And if she still chooses to leave, I will let her go. Because loving her means letting her choose. Even if it destroys me. Vivienne closed the journal, tears streaming down her face. He loved me, she whispered. The whole time. He loved me. So much it terrified him, Caspian confirmed. So much he did not know what to do with it. My brother has spent 8 centuries being feared. Being powerful. Being untouchable. And then you touched him. Saw him. Made him feel human again. It broke him in the best possible way. Vivienne sank into a chair, overwhelmed by the weight of evidence surrounding her. All this time, she had thought herself invisible. Unimportant. A possession to be kept. But she had been his entire world. I was so wrong, she breathed. You were hurt. He gave you every reason to doubt. This is not your fault, Vivienne. But I ran. I left without giving him a chance to explain. And he let you go. Gave you space even though it killed him. That is growth for a man who once conquered kingdoms because someone looked at him wrong. Despite her tears, Vivienne laughed. We are a disaster. Completely, Caspian agreed cheerfully. But you love each other. That is more than most people get in a single lifetime, let alone eternity. Vivienne wiped her eyes and looked around the room again. At the sketches. At the journals. At the physical evidence of love that had been too afraid to speak itself. When he comes back. You will figure it out, Caspian finished. Together. Messily. With lots of dramatic declarations and probably more stopped airplanes knowing my brother. But you will figure it out. She smiled through her tears. Thank you. For showing me this. He is going to be so angry with me. Probably. Worth it though. Seeing you smile like that. Vivienne stood and hugged him impulsively. Caspian stiffened for a moment, surprised, then gently returned the embrace. You are good for us, Vivienne. For our whole family. You make my brother remember he's more than the monster our father created. That is a gift. He is more, she said firmly. So much more. I know. Now you just need to convince him of that. They spent the rest of the day talking. Caspian shared stories about Dominic that made her laugh and cry in equal measure. Tales of a brother who was fierce and loyal and damaged and trying so hard to be good despite centuries of evidence that he was not. And for the first time since she had run, Vivienne felt certain. She loved him. He loved her. Everything else was just details they would figure out together. The second day in Scotland began with rain hammering against ancient stones and Vivienne feeling lighter than she had in months. She had spent the previous evening reading through Dominic's journals, tracing her fingers over sketches he had made of her, understanding for the first time the depth of what she had walked away from. He loved her. Completely. Desperately. In ways that terrified him so much he could not speak them aloud. But he had shown her. Every single day for 3 years. She just had not been looking. Caspian found her in the library that afternoon, curled up near the fireplace with one of Dominic's journals open in her lap. This one was filled with terrible poetry that made her laugh and cry simultaneously. Roses are red, violets are blue, I have killed thousands, but I would die for you, she read aloud. This is genuinely awful. Caspian grinned. I told you. The man has many talents. Poetry is not among them. It is perfect. You are in love. Your judgment is compromised. She laughed, and the sound felt good. Felt healing. Dominic texted an hour ago, Caspian said, settling into the chair across from her. The rogue coven has been dealt with. He is handling some cleanup and should be back tomorrow evening. Relief flooded through her. He is okay? He is Dominic. He is always okay. The people who cross him are significantly less okay. Vivienne sobered slightly. How bad was it? Caspian hesitated. You do not want details. That bad? My brother does not do anything halfway. When he sends a message, he makes sure it is received loud and clear across every vampire territory on the planet. She thought about that. About the violence Dominic was capable of. About the monster he could become when protecting what was his. She should have been horrified. Instead, she felt safe. Maybe that made her as broken as him. Vivienne, there is something you should know, Caspian said carefully. About Dominic. About how he is when he is in that mode. What do you mean? He becomes someone else. Something else. The vampire king in his truest form. It is not pretty. It is not romantic. It is brutal and efficient and absolutely terrifying. I know what he is capable of. Do you? Have you ever actually seen it? She opened her mouth to respond, then closed it. Because the truth was, she had not. Dominic had always been careful around her. Controlled. He had never let her see the violence, only heard about it secondhand. He keeps that part of himself separate from you, Caspian continued. Has for 3 years. He never wanted you to see what he becomes when he's protecting his territory. His family. You. Why are you telling me this? Caspian pulled out his phone, his expression troubled. Because it is about to go public. The Vampire Council is furious about the airport incident. They are looking for any way to undermine Dominic's authority. And they just leaked footage. Footage of what? Of what he did in New York last night. He turned the phone toward her, and Vivienne's blood ran cold. The video was grainy, clearly taken from a security camera in what looked like an abandoned warehouse. And in the center of the frame was Dominic. But not the Dominic she knew. This creature was covered in blood. His eyes were completely black, no white visible at all. His fangs were extended, longer and sharper than she had ever imagined. And his expression was not angry or passionate or any human emotion. It was empty. Cold. The face of something that had stopped being human so long ago it did not even remember what humanity felt like. Around him were bodies. Parts of bodies. Vivienne counted 3 vampires, or what was left of them. Dismembered. Destroyed with a thoroughness that spoke of rage beyond anything she had conceptualized. But Dominic's face remained empty throughout. He moved with mechanical precision, ending lives like he was completing a chore. No passion. No anger. Just efficient, brutal violence. And then he spoke, his voice carrying clearly on the recording. Let this be a lesson. Anyone who threatens what belongs to me will suffer. Not quickly. Not mercifully. You will beg for death long before I grant it. He grabbed one of the vampires, still alive despite horrific injuries, and looked directly into the camera. I am Dominic Valderon. I have ruled for 8 centuries, and I will rule for 8 more. Cross me, and this is your fate. Cross my family, and I will make this look merciful by comparison. Then he tore the vampire's heart from his chest with his bare hand. The video ended. Vivienne sat frozen, the journal sliding from her lap to the floor. That is not, she started, but her voice failed. That is exactly who he is, Caspian said quietly. When he needs to be. I am sorry, Vivienne. But you needed to see it. Needed to understand what loving him means. She could not breathe. Could not think. The image of Dominic's empty black eyes was burned into her mind. He has killed thousands, she whispered. Yes. Like that. Cold. Empty. When necessary, yes. And he comes home to me after doing things like that. Caspian leaned forward. He comes home to you because you are the reason he remembers he is more than that. You are the part of his life where he gets to be gentle. Gets to be human. But he is not human. He is that. She gestured to the phone. That monster. He is both. That is what you need to understand. He is the monster and the man. The king and the lover. The creature that did that, and the person who writes terrible poetry about you. Vivienne stood abruptly, pacing to the window. Outside, the rain continued its relentless assault on the cliffs. Gray and violent and unforgiving. I cannot, she started. I do not know if I can. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen. Dominic. Her hand trembled as she answered. Hello? Little love. His voice was warm. Familiar. The Dominic she knew. I am sorry I have not called sooner. Things got complicated. But it is finished. I will be home tomorrow, and we can. I saw the video. Silence. What video? From New York. From last night. The council leaked it. More silence, and she could practically hear him processing, calculating. Vivienne. Is that what you are? When you are not with me? That empty thing that kills without feeling? It is more complicated than. Answer the question, Dominic. Is that you? A long pause. Yes. The word hit her like a physical blow. That is who I become when I am protecting what is mine. when I am sending messages that need to be received, when I am being the vampire king instead of just Dominic. You tore someone's heart out with your bare hands. He was going to torture you, cut you into pieces and send them to me. Yes, I tore his heart out. I would do it again. I would do worse. You did not even look angry. You looked empty. Because anger is a weakness in situations like that. Emotion makes you sloppy. I needed to be efficient. Vivienne felt bile rise in her throat. You are a monster. She heard him inhale sharply. Yes. I am. I have always been honest about that. No, you have not. You have been gentle with me. Careful. You hid this part of yourself. Because I did not want you to be afraid of me. Well, now I am. I am terrified, Dominic. Because I just realized I have been in love with someone I do not actually know. You showed me the version of yourself you thought I could handle. But that thing in the video? That is the real you. That is part of me. But so is the man who writes you poetry and learns to cook human food and sits with you in silence when you are sad. Both are real, Vivienne. I do not know if I can love both. The silence that followed was devastating. I see, he said finally, and his voice was carefully controlled. Empty, like in the video. Then I suppose we have our answer. Dominic. No, you are right. You deserve someone who is not a monster. Someone who does not have 800 years of blood on his hands. Someone who can love you without dragging you into darkness. That is not what I said. It is what you meant. Stop putting words in my mouth. Then what do you want from me, Vivienne? And now the emotion was breaking through, raw and painful. You want me to apologize for protecting you? For making sure the vampires who threatened you will never threaten anyone again? For being exactly what I needed to be to keep you safe? I want you to have felt something. Anything. You killed 3 people and you looked bored. I have killed thousands, Vivienne. Thousands. Over 8 centuries. If I felt something every time, I would have gone insane before my first century ended. I learned to turn it off. To become empty. It is how I survived. And that does not horrify you? It terrifies me. Every single day. Do you know why I hold you so carefully? Why I calculate every touch? Because I am afraid that one day I will forget to turn it back on. Forget how to feel. And I will hurt you without meaning to. Tears streamed down her face. I saw your journals. Your sketches. The poetry. I thought I finally understood. Thought we could make this work. And now? Now I do not know. I need time to process this. To figure out if I can love someone who is capable of that level of violence. She heard something break in the background of his call. Heard his ragged breathing. Time. Of course. Take all the time you need. Dominic. I should go. I have more cleanup to handle. The council is making moves. I need to be the monster they fear for a while longer. Please do not do this. Do not shut me out. His laugh was bitter. I am not shutting you out. I am giving you exactly what you asked for. Space. Time. Distance from the monster. You are not just a monster. But I am one. And you just realized you cannot handle that. It is fine, Vivienne. I understand. I knew this was too good to be true. Knew eventually you would see what I really am and run. I am not running. You are not staying either. The words hung between them, brutal and true. I will have Caspian arrange for your protection, Dominic continued, his voice becoming formal. Distant. You will be safe regardless of whether you choose me. That does not change. I do not want protection. I want to understand. There is nothing to understand. I am a killer. A monster. The thing nightmares are based on. You saw the truth, and it horrified you. End of story. Dominic, please. I have to go. The council is convening an emergency session. Apparently, brutally murdering rogue vampires and revealing our existence to humans has consequences. Who knew? Do not joke right now. I am not joking. I am surviving. It is what I do best. She heard voices in the background of his call. Heard him respond to someone in a language she did not recognize. I will have someone else escort you back to the main castle when you are ready, he said. I think it is best if we maintain distance for now. You are giving up. Just like that. I am accepting reality. You cannot love a monster, Vivienne. I was a fool to think otherwise. You are not a monster. I literally just tore someone's heart from their chest. On camera. How is that not monstrous? Because you did it to protect me. Does that make it better? Does the reason change what I am? She did not have an answer. Exactly, he said quietly. Goodbye, Vivienne. I hope you find what you are looking for. I hope it is something better than me. Dominic, wait. But he had already hung up. Vivienne stood holding the phone, tears streaming down her face, her entire world crumbling around her. Caspian approached carefully. For what it is worth, I think you are both idiots. Not helpful right now. He loves you so much it is destroying him. And you love him so much you are trying to find reasons to leave before he breaks your heart. I saw what he is. You saw what he does when people threaten his family. It is not the same thing. Is it not? Caspian grabbed her shoulders, forcing her to look at him. My brother has spent 800 years being exactly what our father made him. A weapon. A king. A creature that other creatures fear. But with you, he gets to be something else. Someone else. You are the only person in existence who makes him feel human. But he is not human. No. He is not. He is a vampire. An ancient, powerful, sometimes terrifying vampire who has done terrible things to survive in a terrible world. But he is also the man who writes you poetry and sketches you sleeping and learns to cook human food just to see you smile. How do I reconcile those two versions? By accepting that they are both him. By loving all of him, not just the parts that are easy. Vivienne sank to the floor, her back against the wall. What if I cannot? Then you let him go. And you both spend the rest of eternity wondering what could have been if you had been brave enough to try. Outside, thunder rolled across the cliffs, and Vivienne wondered if her heart would ever stop breaking. 3 days passed. 3 days of silence from Dominic. 3 days of Vivienne pacing the castle, replaying the video, reading his journals, trying to reconcile the monster on the screen with the man who wrote terrible poetry. Caspian gave her space but was always nearby. A quiet presence that did not demand conversation but offered support. On the 4th morning, she found him in the library. He is not coming back, is he? Caspian looked up from his book. He is giving you the space you asked for. I did not ask for complete silence. You told him you did not know if you could love the monster. What did you expect? She sank into the chair across from him. I expected him to fight for us. Like at the airport. He did fight for you. He killed for you. And you called him a monster for it. The words were gentle, but they cut deep. I was scared. I know. And that is fair. What he is capable of, it is terrifying. But Vivienne, you need to make a choice. Either you can accept him as he is, monster and man, or you let him go. What if I make the wrong choice? There is no wrong choice. Only the one you can live with. She was quiet for a long time. Tell me something. Honestly. Is he dangerous to me? Caspian set down his book. Physically? No. Never. He would tear himself apart before hurting you. Emotionally? Absolutely. Loving someone who has lived as long as he has, who has seen and done what he has, it is complicated. Messy. He will hurt you sometimes, not because he wants to but because he does not know how not to. And I will hurt him. You already have. Multiple times. And he is still completely in love with you. Vivienne pulled out her phone. Opened the video she had watched 50 times in 3 days. The empty eyes. The brutal efficiency. The complete lack of emotion. But this time, she looked closer. At his hands, which were trembling slightly even though his face remained empty. At the muscle ticking in his jaw, the only sign of tension in his otherwise controlled demeanor. At the moment, just before he grabbed the camera vampire, where his eyes flickered to something off-screen and something that might have been pain crossed his face. He had not been empty. He had been forcing himself to be empty. Because feeling would have destroyed him. She thought about what Caspian had said. About Dominic learning to turn off emotion to survive. About 8 centuries of having to be the monster so often that the lines between monster and man blurred. She thought about his journals. About sketches made with trembling hands by someone who was trying desperately to capture beauty because his life was filled with so much darkness. She thought about terrible poetry written at 3 in the morning by someone who did not know how to express love but was trying anyway. She thought about him on his knees in an airport, his carefully constructed walls crumbling because he could not let her leave. And she thought about the phone call. About how quickly he had accepted her rejection. How easily he had let her go. Not because he did not love her, but because he thought he was not worthy of being loved. I am an idiot, she whispered. Caspian smiled. Finally. He is not a monster. He is someone who has had to do monstrous things. There is a difference. Significant difference, yes. And I hurt him. I saw the worst part of what he does and I judged him for it without trying to understand. You were scared. He understands. Does he? Or does he think I am just like everyone else? Someone who sees the monster and runs? Caspian's expression grew serious. Honestly? I think he is in the council chambers right now, being the vampire king, burying himself in politics and power because it is easier than feeling the fact that he just lost you. Where is he? Vienna. The council is demanding answers about the airport incident and the New York massacre. They are trying to use it to undermine his authority. I need to see him. Vivienne. Now, Caspian. I need to see him now. The council chambers are not safe for humans. It is all vampires, all politics, all danger. I do not care. He will be furious if I bring you into that environment. Then let him be furious. I have spent 3 days being a coward. I am done running. Caspian studied her face, then slowly smiled. He is going to kill me for this. Probably. Absolutely worth it. Let me make arrangements. The council chambers in Vienna were everything Vivienne had imagined and worse. A massive underground hall lit by thousands of candles. Ornate carvings covering every surface. And vampires. Dozens of them. Ancient ones with eyes that held centuries of cruelty. Caspian led her through corridors, moving quickly. Stay close to me. Do not make eye contact. Do not speak unless directly addressed. And whatever happens, do not show fear. Reassuring. I am serious, Vivienne. These vampires are not like Dominic. They do not care about humans except as food. You are walking into a room full of apex predators. I know. They reached massive double doors. Beyond them, she could hear voices raised in argument. Last chance to turn back, Caspian said. Open the doors. He grinned. You are perfect for my brother. The doors swung open with a boom that echoed through the chamber. Every vampire in the room turned to look. And in the center of them all, standing at a raised podium, was Dominic. He looked terrible. His suit was still immaculate, his posture still commanding, but his face was drawn. His eyes were haunted. He looked like someone who had not slept in days, which was accurate since vampires did not need sleep but sometimes did it anyway to escape. His eyes found hers, and every emotion he had been carefully controlling crashed across his face. Shock. Hope. Fear. Love. All of it in rapid succession before he locked it down behind the mask of the Vampire King. Caspian, he said, his voice dangerously calm. What is the meaning of this? She insisted, Caspian replied cheerfully. I tried to stop her. She is very stubborn. I see why you like her. The council members were muttering among themselves. One of them, an ancient vampire with silver hair and cruel eyes, spoke up. Is this the human? The one who brought the great Dominic Valderon to his knees? Another laughed. She does not look like much. Fragile thing. I am surprised she has survived this long. Vivienne felt Caspian tense beside her, but she kept her eyes on Dominic. His expression had gone completely cold. The empty look from the video. You will not speak of her, he said quietly. The silver-haired vampire sneered. Or what? You will add us to your list of victims? You are already facing consequences for your recklessness in New York. Do you really want to? He did not get to finish. Dominic moved. 1 second he was at the podium. The next he had the silver-haired vampire by the throat, lifted off the ground, his feet dangling uselessly. I said, Dominic repeated, his voice utterly emotionless, you will not speak of her. The temperature in the room dropped. Candles flickered. The other council members backed away, fear finally registering on ancient faces. She is off limits. Her name does not cross your lips. You do not look at her. You do not think about her. Because if you do, if any of you so much as consider harming her, I will make what I did in New York look like a mercy. He dropped the vampire, who collapsed gasping. Then Dominic turned to Vivienne, and his mask cracked. You should not be here. I know. It is not safe. I do not care. Vivienne. I was wrong. The chamber fell silent. She took a step toward him, ignoring the vampires watching with predatory interest. I saw the video and I was scared. But I should have talked to you. Should have tried to understand instead of judging you. You had every right to judge me. What I did was monstrous. What you did was protect me. There is a difference. Is there? She took another step. Yes. Because monsters kill for pleasure. You kill to protect. Monsters do not write terrible poetry or sketch the person they love or learn to cook human food. Monsters do not fall to their knees in airports and beg. His jaw clenched. You called me a monster. I was wrong. You are someone who has had to do monstrous things to survive in a monstrous world. But that is not the same as being a monster. You are splitting hairs. No. I am finally seeing clearly. She was standing directly in front of him now, close enough to touch. I love you, Dominic. All of you. The man who writes poetry and the king who tears hearts from chests. The gentle lover and the brutal protector. All of it. Because it is all you. Something broke in his expression. I cannot promise I will never scare you again. I cannot promise there will not be more videos, more violence, more moments where you question what you see in me. I know. I cannot promise I will not hurt you. Not intentionally, but I am 800 years old and still learning how to love someone without suffocating them. I know that too. Then what are you promising? She reached up and cupped his face, forcing him to look at her. I am promising to stay. To fight for us instead of running. To accept you as you are, monster and man, and love all of it. I am promising that when I get scared, I will talk to you instead of fleeing. I am promising to try. A tear traced down his cheek. I do not deserve you. Probably not. But you are stuck with me anyway. And then, before the entire vampire council, before dozens of ancient creatures who had never seen the Vampire King show weakness, Dominic kissed her. It was not gentle. It was desperate and passionate and filled with 3 days of agony and 800 years of loneliness finally ending. When they broke apart, they were both crying. I love you, he whispered. Even when you terrify me. Even when I do not know how to be what you need. I love you. I love you too. Even when you are dramatic and stop airplanes and trend on social media. He laughed through his tears. We are a disaster. Completely. Behind them, someone cleared their throat. They turned to find the entire council staring at them with a mixture of shock and disbelief. The silver-haired vampire, still rubbing his throat, spoke carefully. So, the human stays? Dominic's arm wrapped around Vivienne's waist, pulling her close. The human has a name. Vivienne. And yes, she stays. As my consort. My partner. My equal in all things. Murmurs spread through the chamber. You cannot be serious, another council member said. A human as consort to the Vampire King? It is unprecedented. Then I am setting a precedent. Anyone who has a problem with it can take it up with me personally. I promise it will be a short conversation. The threat was clear. No one argued. Dominic looked down at Vivienne. Can we leave now? I have had quite enough of politics for 1 century. She smiled. Please. He swept her into his arms, and without another word to the council, carried her from the chamber. Caspian fell into step beside them, grinning. That went well. You are fired, Dominic said. You cannot fire me. I am your brother. Then you are disowned. You do not mean that. I absolutely mean it. You brought her into a room full of ancient vampires who would love nothing more than to use her against me. And it worked. You are welcome. Despite his words, Dominic smiled. Thank you, brother. Anytime. Literally anytime you need someone to make spectacularly bad decisions, I am your vampire. They emerged from the underground chambers into the Vienna night. Dominic set Vivienne down gently, but kept his arms around her like he was afraid she might disappear. "I am sorry," he said quietly, "for shutting you out, for giving up so easily, for not fighting harder. I am sorry too, for running, for judging, for not trusting what we have. We are both disasters. We established that already." He kissed her forehead. "Can we go home now? The real home? And figure this out together?" "Yes." "But Dominic?" "Yes, little love. No more secrets. No more hiding parts of yourself. I want all of you. Even the parts that scare you." He pulled back to look at her seriously. "That is a dangerous promise to keep. There are 800 years of darkness in me. Then we will face the darkness together." "Together," he repeated, like he was testing the word. "I like the sound of that." "Good. Because you are stuck with me now. Best prison sentence I have ever received." She laughed, and the sound echoed through the Vienna streets, full of hope and promise and the beginning of something real. 6 months later, Vivienne woke to sunlight streaming through the castle windows and the smell of something burning in the kitchen. She smiled before she even opened her eyes. Dominic was cooking again. She found him in the massive kitchen, scowling at a pan of what might have once been pancakes but now resembled charcoal discs. He was wearing an apron that said "Kiss the Cook" that Caspian had given him as a joke, and there was flour in his dark hair. "You are awake," he said, looking up with a smile that transformed his entire face. "I was trying to surprise you with breakfast. It has gone poorly. I can see that." In my defense, the recipe was unclear about what medium heat meant. I may have interpreted it liberally. Vivienne crossed to him, wrapping her arms around his waist from behind. "You are 800 years old and you still cannot cook pancakes. I can conquer kingdoms and negotiate vampire politics across 7 continents, but breakfast foods elude me. It is humbling." She laughed, the sound easy and free in a way it had not been 6 months ago. 6 months of learning each other. Really learning, without secrets or walls or fear. It had not been easy. There had been fights. Moments where his control slipped and she saw the violence lurking beneath his careful gentleness. Nights where she woke from nightmares about the video, about empty black eyes and hearts torn from chests. But there had also been mornings like this. Quiet moments of domesticity with a creature who was trying so hard to be soft for her. Evenings spent reading his terrible poetry aloud and laughing until they cried. Nights where he held her and whispered 800 years of secrets into her hair, trusting her with the darkness he had carried alone for so long. They had learned to talk. Really talk. When she was scared, she told him instead of running. When he felt himself slipping into the emptiness, he reached for her instead of retreating into solitude. It was messy and complicated and sometimes painful. It was also the most real thing either of them had ever experienced. "The council wants to meet with you next week," Dominic said, abandoning the ruined pancakes and turning to face her. "Formally recognize you as my consort. It will be tedious and full of ancient vampires trying to be intimidating." Sounds terrible. It will be. But you will be brilliant and they will love you, and I will spend the entire time restraining myself from threatening anyone who looks at you wrong. Very romantic. I am nothing if not consistent. She reached up to brush the flour from his hair. "Are you sure about this? Binding yourself to a human? I am going to age, Dominic. Grow old. Die. You will still be here, eternal and unchanged." His expression grew serious. "I have thought about that. Every day. And I have a proposal. What kind of proposal? He took both her hands in his. When the time comes, when you have lived your human life fully, I want to turn you. Make you like me. So we can have eternity together instead of just decades. Vivienne's breath caught. You want to turn me into a vampire? Only if you want it. Only when you are ready. I would never force it. But yes, I want forever with you, Vivienne. I want to show you centuries of sunrises, even if I can only watch them through your eyes. I want to travel the world with you, teach you everything I have learned, learn everything you have to teach me. I want it all. Tears pricked her eyes. That is a long time. It is. But I have spent 800 years alone. I think I have earned some company. What if I say no? What if I want to stay human, live a normal lifespan, and leave you to find someone else? Pain flickered across his face, but he nodded. Then I will love you for however long I have you. And when you are gone, I will carry you with me for the rest of eternity. There will be no one else, Vivienne. It is you or it is solitude. There is no third option. She stood on her toes and kissed him softly. Ask me again in 50 years. Hope bloomed in his expression. 50 years? I want to live my human life first. Experience everything. Grow old with you, even if you are not growing old with me. And then, when I am ready, when I have lived fully, ask me again. And you might say yes. I might say yes. He picked her up and spun her around, his laughter filling the kitchen with a sound that had been absent from this castle for centuries. 50 years. I can work with 50 years. You are going to be insufferable, aren't you? Counting down the days. Absolutely. I am already planning the argument I will make. It will be very persuasive. Possibly involve a PowerPoint presentation. You do not know how to make a PowerPoint presentation. I have 50 years to learn. She laughed, and he set her down gently, his hands cupping her face. I love you, Vivienne. More than I thought I was capable of loving anything. You took a creature who had forgotten how to feel and reminded him what it means to be alive. I love you too. Monster and man. King and disaster. All of it. We are still a disaster. The best kind. Caspian appeared in the doorway, took one look at the burned pancakes, and sighed. Brother, we have discussed this. You are not allowed near cooking implements without supervision. I was trying to be romantic. You were trying to burn down the castle. There is a difference. Details. Caspian looked at Vivienne. How do you tolerate him? Love makes you stupid, she replied. I have accepted it. Fair enough. He grabbed the pan of ruined pancakes and tossed them in the trash. I am making breakfast. You two are banned from the kitchen. Go be disgustingly in love somewhere else. Dominic took Vivienne's hand and led her from the kitchen, up through the castle corridors, toward the eastern balcony that overlooked the sea. The same balcony she had climbed down 6 months ago when she ran. They stood there now, his arms wrapped around her from behind, watching the waves crash against the cliffs. Do you ever regret it? He asked quietly. Coming back? Choosing this complicated, messy life with me? Every day, she said, then laughed at his wounded expression. I am joking. No, Dominic. I do not regret it. This is exactly where I am supposed to be. Even when I am difficult? Especially when you are difficult. It keeps things interesting. He pressed a kiss to her temple. I am going to spend the rest of your human life, and possibly eternity after that, trying to be worthy of you. You already are. I disagree. But I will work on believing you." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the world wake up around them. "Dominic?" "Yes, little love? Thank you for stopping that plane." He laughed, surprised. "After everything, that is what you were thanking me for? If you had not stopped it, I would have flown to New York. Would have spent months convincing myself I had made the right choice. Would have missed all of this. You would have been safe though. Free. I would have been alone. And lonely. And wondering what I had given up." He turned her in his arms, his dark eyes searching her face. "I would have waited. However long it took. I would have waited for you to come back to me. I know. But I am glad you did not have to." She reached up and traced his face, this beautiful, terrible, ancient creature who loved her enough to be vulnerable. "We are going to be okay, aren't we? We are going to be better than okay. We are going to be extraordinary. Confident. 800 years old. I have earned some confidence." She smiled and pulled him down for a kiss that tasted like hope and promise and forever. Behind them, Caspian's voice drifted from the kitchen. "If you two are done being romantic, breakfast is ready. And it is actually edible, unlike Dominic's attempt at cooking." Dominic groaned. "I am never going to live that down, am I? Not even a little bit. He will be telling that story at family gatherings for the next century. Wonderful. My reputation as a feared vampire king, destroyed by pancakes. You could always threaten him. I have threatened him 17 times this week. He is immune now." Vivienne took his hand and led him back inside, toward breakfast and family and the life they were building together. A life that was messy and complicated and sometimes scary. A life that was also full of love and laughter and terrible poetry and mornings where an 800-year-old vampire tried to make pancakes and failed spectacularly. A life that was theirs. And as they sat down to breakfast, surrounded by the family Dominic had spent centuries protecting and the woman who had taught him that being loved was worth more than being feared, Vivienne realized something important. She had not been running from him 6 months ago. She had been running from herself. From her fear of not being enough. From her certainty that love this big could not possibly be real. But it was real. Messy and imperfect and sometimes terrifying. But real. And that was enough. More than enough. It was everything. 3 weeks later, Vivienne stood in the grand hall of the Vienna castle, wearing a dress that cost more than her childhood home, surrounded by ancient vampires who had finally accepted that the human was here to stay. The formal recognition ceremony was exactly as tedious as Dominic had promised. Long speeches in languages she did not understand. Traditions that dated back centuries. Ancient rituals that seemed designed to test her patience. But through it all, Dominic stood beside her, his hand in hers, his presence unwavering. When the head of the council finally placed the consort's pendant around her neck, a delicate chain with a blood-red ruby that marked her as under the vampire king's eternal protection, Dominic smiled at her with such pure joy that it took her breath away. "You are officially stuck with me now," he whispered. "Vampire law is very clear. This is binding. So is human marriage. Pick your binding." "Can I pick both?" Greedy. 800 years alone. I have a lot of making up to do. The celebration after the ceremony was enormous. Vampires from across the world had gathered to meet the human who had captured the vampire king's heart. Vivienne was passed from conversation to conversation, answering questions, deflecting thinly veiled threats with grace, and generally proving that she could hold her own in this world. Dominic watched from across the room, his expression proud and possessive in equal measure. Caspian appeared beside him with 2 glasses of blood wine. "She is impressive. She is everything. You are still disgustingly in love. It has been 6 months. Shouldn't the honeymoon phase be over? I waited 800 years for her. I am going to enjoy every single moment. Fair enough. They watched as Vivienne laughed at something one of the elder vampires said, completely at ease despite being surrounded by creatures that could kill her without effort. You know the council is going to demand you turn her eventually, Caspian said quietly. They will not want your consort to be human forever. Too vulnerable. Too easy to use against you. She will decide when she is ready. Not before. And if she decides never? Dominic's expression grew fierce. Then I will protect her for however long she lives, and I will make it very clear to the council that anyone who tries to force the issue will join the vampires from New York. Protective. She is mine. I protect what is mine. And if she heard you say that, she would lecture you about possession versus partnership. Dominic smiled. She would. And she would be right. And I would apologize and rephrase. She is not mine in the sense of ownership. She is mine in the sense that I am hers. We belong to each other. Better. Across the room, Vivienne caught his eye and smiled. That smile still destroyed him. Still made 800 years of existence feel worth it just to see that expression directed at him. He excused himself from Caspian and crossed the room to her, claiming her hand and pulling her onto the dance floor. Rescuing me? She asked as they began to move to the music. Always. I was handling it fine. I know. But I missed you. I was 10 feet away. 10 feet too far. She laughed and rested her head against his chest. You are ridiculous. I am in love. It is a permanent condition. They swayed together, surrounded by ancient vampires and centuries of tradition, two people who should not have worked but somehow did. Dominic? Yes, little love. Thank you. For what? For falling apart in that airport. For stopping the plane. For loving me loudly enough that I could not ignore it. For being brave when I was being a coward. He pulled back to look at her. You were never a coward. You were protecting yourself. There is a difference. We both know I was running. And you came back. That is what matters. She smiled up at him. I will always come back. Promise? Promise. You are stuck with me, Dominic Valderon. Monster, man, king, disaster, terrible chef. All of it. Forever. Best promise anyone has ever made me. He kissed her there on the dance floor, in front of the entire vampire council, and for the first time in 800 years, the vampire king felt something he had thought lost to him forever. Peace. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of something worth fighting for. Something worth protecting. Something worth choosing every single day, for as long as forever lasted. And as the music swelled and the ancient vampires watched with a mixture of envy and wonder, Dominic Valderon held the woman he loved and thought about the future. 50 years of her human life. Of mornings and laughter and terrible poetry. Of fights and reconciliations and learning to love without fear. And then, maybe, if she chose it, eternity beyond that. 800 years alone had been survival. But forever with her? That would be living. And he could not wait. So tell me honestly, would you choose to be turned into a vampire for love? Would you give up your humanity for forever with someone? Drop your answer in the comments because this question keeps me up at night. And listen, if you made it all the way to the end of this story, if you felt every emotion, every heartbreak, every moment of hope, then you already know what I am about to ask. You have been here for 60 minutes. 60 minutes of vampires and love and drama and redemption. 60 minutes of me pouring my entire soul into this story for you. Do not just walk away without hitting that subscribe button. I stayed up crafting every word, every twist, every emotional moment specifically for you. One click. That is all I am asking. One single click to join this family, to be part of this community, to tell me that this story mattered to you as much as it mattered to me. If you do not subscribe after watching this entire video, after feeling everything we just felt together, I will genuinely question everything. Do not do that to me. Do not break my heart after Dominic and Vivienne just put theirs back together. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. And comment below telling me which part destroyed you the most. Was it the airport scene? The video revelation? The final dance? I need to know. I read every single comment and your words keep me going when I am editing at 2 in the morning wondering if anyone cares about these stories. You care. I know you do. So show me. Subscribe. Comment. Be part of this family. We are building something special here, and I want you in it. Thank you for being here. Thank you for letting me tell you this story. Thank you for believing in love that is messy and complicated and sometimes terrifying but always, always worth fighting for. Until next time, keep believing in the kind of love that stops airplanes and conquers kingdoms and reminds monsters that they are capable of being more. I will see you in the next story.